Welcome to another edition of Learning Microsoft Excel with the Preppery Professor. This week, we're going to look at how to insert formulas within Excel. And when we talk about inserting formulas, I'm going to address, first off, how to create something called a complex formula, how to insert functions and decipher between the type of function you would like to use. Once you have inserted that formula, how to copy and move any of the formulas as well as the values or text that you have within your cell. I'm going to introduce you to the concept of relative and absolute cell references. You're going to learn how to copy both those relative cell references as well as how to copy an absolute cell reference. And we're going to end the tutorial with the understanding of how to round values within a function. So let's get started. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the following worksheet and notice it. So from my first intro to Excel, you learned that this is actually a workbook and we have a worksheet within a workbook. And the first thing I want to do is just do a quick review over how to insert a formula of what we talked about last week. And the first formula you learned is the auto sum. So remember, on our home tab, in order to sum multiple cells, which if we highlight all of these cells, we have a range of cells that we have selected. If we would want the sum of those cells, we then have to make sure our active cell is clicked within the cell we want our sum number to drop into. We would then go on our home tab, on the ribbon under editing, just click auto sum. And right away, it's going to highlight all of the cells. How smart Excel is, guys. It's going to highlight all of the cells to show our cell range, which is B9 through B16. Now, where does that come from? Just as a refresher. So I'm going to click enter so I can go back to our formula. Once I hit enter, the sum of those cells is going to drop within that cell that's active, that's highlighted in green. If I go to the formula bar, it's going to highlight that range of cells again, just to show me what is in my formula. And it's going to reference several cells, B9 through B16. Now, if I click on B9, which is here, notice in my name box, that's where B9 is. So cell references are going to reference each cell. And notice how I click how that name box changes to the actual name of each of those cells. How that is done as a review, all of the columns start in alphabetical order and all of the rows within our cells begin with numbers. So the intersection of that point actually gives you your cell reference for each of the cells. That's going to be important to note when we get to creating these formulas. All right, so the first concept I want to talk about is how to even create something called a complex formula. A complex formula is going to be where you're going to use multiple operators within one formula. Now, our operators are going to be your plus, your addition, your subtraction, your multiplication, your division, all within one formula. And anytime we begin a formula, remember we're always going to use our equal sign. From there, we cell reference. We do not directly enter in numbers. That's the beauty of Excel, is using cell references, because anytime you want to come back, make a change within your spreadsheet, within those values that are there, you can just change it without having to touch any of your formulas, and it'll automatically calculate for you. So a complex formula, for example, would be if I want to equal and determine an increase within each of my, and this is a data of clinical data, my cardiology clinic, I'm going to click on my first quarter number. I want to increase it, and notice over here I've put in 20%. Well, within my cell, I can't put in this value. It doesn't know that. It's a combination of characters as well as numbers, and so it can't make out what you're going to be able to do. So if I do that just to show you all how that works and then click in my number, notice I get an error. is saying, I can't make out what you want me to calculate. So it's always important that you separate your numbers from your text. That's why you have all of these cells where you can use it to set up the data in the manner that you want. So in this case, we're going to go back to equals. I have now put in a separate value for my 20%, and I've listed it as 0.20. The Excel is smart enough, you can even put in 20% and it'll know what to do. I'm going to multiply it by what my quarter value is. And remember, I want to show the increase of what it would be plus that 20%. So a complex formula would be, okay, if you don't do it right, you see you get an error up, okay? And it keeps telling you didn't do something right, okay? Order operations, all right? So remember order operations, that anytime you want to make sure you're calculating things in order, you have to add your parentheses. So what did I just do? Well, complex formula would be, I want to show the increase of the 20% times whatever value is in my cell to show it will increase by 20%. But to show the total of what that 20% would do to my first quarter amount for cardiology, I have to add that back in, which would show me my increase would make it to 7,000. What is that? 71,000. Sorry about that. We're talking about dollar amount. $714. So a 20% increase on this value here of the 59,000 would give me 71,000. How did I show that? By doing a complex formula with multiple order of operations within one formula. Okay, so that's what that means. It is very important to grasp the concept of order of operation. Okay, guys, an order of precedence of the use of the parentheses. If you do not have that specified, let me take this out. Let me take out my parentheses, because right now it's just going to go from left to right and do the calculation. And notice, okay, in this case, it's still working okay. But in actuality, if I change this around, okay, say for instance, I want to continue to multiply, but maybe I want to do some division here. I want to demonstrate this to you guys. So if I go here, but I want to divide it by the 20% times the value again. Okay, let me change something here just for numbers so things kind of add up right here. I'll use this one here. Okay, and we'll go times the, we'll do this one here. Okay, so I got a formula of some numbers that made sense. I was trying to do something off the fly, but here it is to show you order of operation. So in this case, it's going to go from left to right. So what happens is it's going to do the multiplication of the C14 divided by the C15 and then multiply it by the 2%. But if I use my order of precedence and my order of operation and using my parentheses, notice how the value then changed, because my formula is going to be calculating what's in the parentheses first, and then it's going to divide the number. So let me take the parentheses out so you can see how that number changes again, okay? So those parentheses make a huge difference when you are including your calculation. All right, so that is the complex formula. The other neat tool I want to show you is the quick analysis tool. So if you highlight and select a range of cells, you're going to get an icon here. And if you click on that icon, it's going to actually give you options for doing a lot of things with Excel at your fingertips. You can do some formatting, you can do some charts, you can also include totals. And we're going to focus on totals right now. And in my other tutorials, we'll look at how to create a chart and how to format your table. So notice you have a sum here, or if you wanted to calculate the average. And the beauty of Excel is if you take your cursor and roll over each of these options, notice how the numbers is going to change to be able to give you either the average, the sum, or the count. So that's your quick analysis tool, that anytime you select multiple cells, it gives you that option to ask you, well, what do you want to do? And clicking on that total tab would then say, well, what do you want me to do with those items? Now I'm going to actually go up here to our total and talk about the autofill. So what is autofill? Autofill is going to be a feature within Excel that after you create a formula allows you to then fill in these empty cells here with the same calculation that is here. So notice I have a total line and I want the total for each quarter for all of my clinics. Since I've already included the formula of sum here, I don't have to go in and do it again and click auto sum or all of that. No, I just highlight the cell that I created that formula in. Notice here in your left bottom corner, if you take your cursor and land it there, you're going to have a plus sign. When you have that plus sign, you're going to click down on your mouse, hold it, drag. Then from there, it's going to auto fill in those totals based upon the formula that is here. We can also do it here. All right. So in this case, I'm actually going to show you all how to insert a function. Now, functions are going to be what a calculation that is predefined within Excel is a function. And so if you click that function symbol, which is located here, all right, next to your formula bar, you're going to get a dialog box that opens up. And this dialog box is going to give you all of the different functions that are predefined within Excel. And there are many of them. If you click all, this is kind of a running list of all of the formulas, thinking of all of the ways you could use Excel that are here at your fingertips. There are other ways to get to that function listing. You can also go to the auto sum where there's that drop down box, click the arrow. You have them listed here. If you click more functions, you get the same dialog box. Within Excel, it's always going to be at least 3 ways to get to information. If you go to the Formulas tab, notice here under, you can click Insert Function. We get the same dialog box. Or here's your function library, where if you click the drop-down box, it's going to give you the ones that are mostly used. They even divide it into the individual categories of financial, logical, even text. That allows you to then select which function you want, which these are predefined within Excel. So we're going to go back and just use our trusty little sum, click enter, and I'm going to just auto fill that in, drag it on down, and now I have my totals for by each clinic as well as by each quarter. Okay. Now let's talk about what if I wanted to enter in a function myself. So I don't want to choose one up there. I want to enter it in myself. So you can click equals, and I know I want to calculate average. So I'm just going to start putting in and typing in average. Look what happens. Soon as you start typing that in, you're going to get these options that pull up to say, are you trying to calculate average? If you click on the average, double click it, it's going to say, okay, what do you want me to average? This is where you then would cell reference. And by cell referencing, you'll just go up, click the cell you want, drag down all of the cells that you want in your average. And before we hit enter, we're going to have to close our parentheses and hit enter. Notice here, it calculates the average for us. I want to show you all also another tip within Excel. Let's go back and highlight those cells again. Once we highlight those cells again, notice the average also shows up on our status bar in addition to our sum. So this is a way to kind of double check yourself to say, oh, my sum is correct and also my average is correct. Just a quick way to know, anytime you select multiple cells, it's going to show down here for you in your worksheet, but we also have it included as a function within our cells. So this is kind of part 1 of learning formulas, and stay tuned and watch part 2 when I talk about how to create absolute cells and also how to round within Excel.